Hey everybody, this is Tom. Welcome back to MTG Spec. It is May the 4th today, so May the 4th be with you. In honor of Star Wars Day, I want to show off some of the old Star Wars collectible card game by Decipher. These were really beautiful cards, and unlike the current Star Wars game that was that's currently being produced, Star Wars Unlimited, I believe it's called. That game uses actually, I have some packs here. This is the Star Wars Unlimited. This is the latest version of the card game. But let's just, I don't know, do a little side-by-side. This one uses art, original art, whereas this one used photo reference and stuff. So it was definitely a very different game. For a while, this was the second biggest card game behind Magic. Believe it or not, back in the day, this was extremely popular because there wasn't a lot of, like, this predated the prequels. It predated the special editions even, and so there's just a dearth of Star Wars material out there. Now, you can see some of these cards are from like the original trilogy. That's as far as this game got. Most of it's based on, the prequel trilogy. Yeah, so most of this game is based on the original trilogy, but there is some prequel trilogy. There's even some extended universe stuff, like the Mara Jade's lightsaber. Maul is in there. And they would do a lot of things like, so they would take just a picture of a set, and they would Photoshop in elements into the foreground. So a lot of these pictures were not based on any specific image. They were just kind of like Photoshopped in. So they took some liberties. They even had some little Easter eggs, like this card Deathmark. If you look real close, there's a little skull hidden in the icon for events. So they did some fun little Easter eggs as well. I'm sorry, this presentation's all over the place, but I just wanted to kind of show you some of the stuff. I'm kind of reorganizing my collection right now, but we're almost to the main characters, so we'll get to that. Oh, they also had, instead of counter spells, they had things called like control and alter and sense, and they would use those. So basically, you could run counter spells in your deck, but pretty much only if you had a Jedi. This was a really cool card. This one right here is called Jabba's Prize. So it was actually a light side card. A light side, basically every game you're playing light side versus dark side. This one is a light side persona of Han Solo that only the dark side could cast. And it's just a wall of text. But they, instead of the regular card back, they have Han and Carbonite because you could never actually include it in your deck. You had to cast it from, basically at the start of the game. But yeah, they took their sweet time rolling out characters too. Like, we had to wait like 5 or 6 sets before the bounty hunters showed up in Dagobah. They didn't release everything at once. They basically released it in chronological order of the movies. So the first set was the premiere set. It had Darth Vader, it had Han Solo, but it didn't even have like R2-D2 and Chewbacca. That was one of the big hits back in the day. Holy smokes, if you pulled a Vader in a pack, you're doing well. And then later on, Emperor Palpatine is one of the few ultra rares they ever produced in the game. And they even did a different persona of him. This is something really weird. A lot of the cards required the Death Star version. So up here, you can see that's the expansion symbol. So this one, it was from like Reflections, one of their later sets, but they even included the expansion symbol from his original printing because it affected gameplay. They did a lot of weird stuff like that, but it was cool. Darth Maul also, he has a unique expansion symbol. Most of these guys, like Bib Fortuna, they have a generic alien, Jabba the Hutt alien, but Darth Maul got his own little face because they were like, what the heck is he? Is he an alien? Is he a... It was before the Empire, so they didn't really have the Imperial symbol yet. And then this was cool too. Lando Calrissian had 2 simultaneous printings, one light side, one dark side in the same set. And you could actually replace one with the other. So that's pretty cool. You could convert them over to the good guy side. But yeah, so check it out. Yeah, like, so C-3PO had no expansion symbol because he came out in the premiere set. But then R2-D2 has a little cross lightsaber because he came out in the next set, A New Hope. And over time, you know, they started to finally release all the Jedi. Luke was in the last regular set, the Death Star 2 Conclusion. He was another ultra rare. But for a long time, this guy was a hitter, Obi-Wan Kenobi. And then they would do funny things too, like where Obi-Wan, like a Dagobah, or when Dagobah set came out, Yoda's game text is written, "Where present am I, battles and attacks happen not." You know, they wrote it in his own text. Also, he was the first Jedi card ever published, and the all the Jedi, Qui-Gon Jinn, Mace Windu, they all have a lightsaber, which actually is something you normally would see on a land, or, you know, basically a location, which means that wherever these guys were, you could actually activate basically 1 extra mana in Magic terms. And they had spies in this set, so you can actually see, like, there was a Han Solo that was dark side, like an undercover spy, and the same with Leia as Boushh. She had one persona that was an undercover spy that has the dark side frame to it, as opposed to the light side frame. So that was kind of fun. And spies were cool. You could deploy them on your opponent's side and stop their force drain, so, you know, you could basically stop an attack on your life. So yeah, we got a whole bunch of guys. This was, even their spaceships had different personas, because we have the original Millennium Falcon, no symbol, that was from the original set. And then Gold Squadron 1 is the Millennium Falcon from the final Death Star set, which was piloted by Lando and Nine Numb. They get the benefits. But it was a great game. It was really cool. You would do things like during an attack, you would draw a random card off the top of your deck, and this was the force number. And usually it was, you know, like 1, 2, 3. But sometimes they would print some wild ones, and this one had the best force number ever printed. R2-D2 and Red 5 had 0 or 7. So if you wanted a low number so that your counterspell would work, like a Sense or Alter, you know, it basically had to be less than the ability of the Jedi, then that would be good. Otherwise, if you were just trying to pull for a battle, to do battle damage, you wanted that as high as possible, and 7 is as high as it went. They never, I don't think they ever published a number higher than 7. And then over here we have some of the ships. We have Home 1, Power 9 Armor 8's pretty wild in this game. But then over here, the Executor was so big they published it sideways. So that one's Power 12 and Armor 12. But this was a really wild game. I loved it. I really enjoyed it. It had its problems, like all games. But, I mean, who's going to look at this art and deny that, you know, even though it's pulled from images, kind of cleaned up, it just looks great, though. It still looks really good. It still looks better than 90% of the games out there. And I don't know, it was great. And I have a whole bunch of these cards I need to sort out and kind of redo. But they even had foils, you know. So they had the whole shebang. They had foils. They had, oh boy. Hey kid, you want a lift tube? I don't know why I felt the need to have tons of light side and dark side lift tubes. This was cool too. This was like a little sub game you could do. So any of these characters that said Dejaric, or if they said hologram, you could actually pit them in their own little battle arena against each other, even though they're basically instant interrupts in Magic term. So that was the whole thing. And then, yeah, they had, you know, a white bordered unlimited set. Not bleh, but their version of the unlimited set that was not a restricted print run. And they would do special editions of a lot of the regular expansions, as like Zuckuss is from Dagobah. They also had a recurring thing where they would print special cards. Like, I mean, they even did, like, look at that foreign language stuff. This was a plain white card that came out of a printer. But, you know, basically it was an error card. Let me just back up a little. Oh yeah, they did some extended universe characters too, like Corrin Horn from the books. They would do, yeah, like there's a meeting of Mara Jade and I don't know, some dude. They also had their little art department make up cards that existed but didn't have photo reference, like Mist Hunter for Zuckuss. Oh, and this was something they added later. They had a card type called Defensive Shield where you could start with more stuff in play. The company Decipher did that quite a bit, including with their Star Trek card game. But the rest of this is just kind of, you know, rando nonsense. Oh, this was a funny one. Brainiac. His Force Destiny that you would draw was pi, so they had to explain what pi was. And he had to do all these calculations to figure out what his personal power and toughness was. And I love the flavor text too. He's the brain, sweetheart. And his special icon is a little droid, which means that much like R2-D2, he was smart enough to actually calculate hyperspace and let your ships move from sector to sector. All the locations, outer space locations, had like a sector number. So if you wanted to move from Nal Hutta over to Sullust, you had to subtract 3 from 7, and you know you had to have at least 4 hyperspace to be able to get there. So let's see. Here's a Boba Fett ship. It has hyperspeed 4, so it could make that jump in 1 turn. But yeah, we're just kind of look through a little bit. I have a lot. I'll probably do a more detailed video of this someday. But I just wanted to let my fellow Star Wars CCG nerds know that this stuff is still out there. It's still protected for future generations. Oh yeah, this is cool too. They actually kind of pioneered split cards before Magic did it. We call those no rare cards in Magic. And oh yeah, they've also published Star Trek, like I said, and they had some oversized cards. Like, look at the size of that. That's crazy. And there's some of the Magic, like, tombs to compare it to. Oh my god. This has nothing to do with May the 4th, but check out that guy. Tidal Wave, whoa. All my Transformers. I had to put all the big cards in one place. Anyway, that was a longer than I expected tour. Hope you didn't get seasick watching that. But we will talk to y'all later, and have a happy May the 4th. Okay, bye.